All right, let's talk about Marvel. There is a huge, and I mean huge, debate raging right now about the female characters in the MCU. It all started with one specific criticism that kind of blew up into a much larger conversation, and today we are going to unpack that entire analysis for you.
So, where did all this start? Well, it kicked off with a complaint from YouTuber Grace Randolph. She was reacting to some news that a few of the original Avengers might be coming back, and, well, she had some pretty strong feelings about what that meant for the future of the franchise.
And this was pretty much the heart of it. You have all these rumors flying around that Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans might return for a big new Avengers movie. And she's basically asking, wait a minute, what about the new generation of heroines we just spent the last few years meeting? Why aren't they the ones driving this new story?
Now here's where it gets really interesting. The hosts of the WW Pro show heard her complaint, and they actually agreed with her. But they said her frustration was really just scratching the surface of a much deeper, more fundamental problem with Marvel's entire creative strategy.
See, according to their analysis, Marvel's problem isn't that they don't have enough female characters. Not at all. The issue, they argue, is the way the studio went about it. Their strategy was to replace the established, beloved male heroes instead of building up new, original heroines from the comics.
Yeah, they even gave it a name. They call it the swapperoo. And in their view, it's this kind of creative shortcut that just fundamentally misunderstands how an audience connects with a character. And they say it's the root cause of the whole mess Marvel is in now.
And I mean, you can see exactly what they're talking about right here. For so many of Marvel's biggest male heroes, the studio's move was to bring in a direct female counterpart to pick up the mantle. You've got Jane Foster becoming Mighty Thor, Jennifer Walters as She-Hulk, Riri Williams as Ironheart. You see the pattern.
And this is the big question the hosts are asking. They're pointing out that while Marvel was busy with this swapperoo thing, they had this absolute treasure trove of globally famous, incredibly powerful female characters, especially from the X-Men comics, just sitting there waiting to be built into superstars from the ground up.
Okay, so if this was the big strategy, why do they think it failed so badly? Well, their analysis points to a whole series of missteps that, in their eyes, basically doomed these new characters from ever reaching the same popularity as the originals. They kind of break it down into 4 parts. First, this feeling that it was all about filling a quota for representation, instead of just telling a good story. And that, they argue, led to weaker character arcs, a feeling that the source material was being disrespected, and that just ended up pushing a part of the audience away.
And this leads to maybe their most pointed critique. The hosts argue that these new heroines were just written in a way that didn't land with audiences, and so they were rejected. Their take is that the focus wasn't on creating great characters, but on pushing a message, and they use this term beta males to describe what they saw as a real weakness in the writing.
They even make a comparison to what they call the Ghostbusters problem. And the idea is pretty simple, actually. It's when the marketing and the whole point of the movie becomes the swap itself, you know? Hey, look, it's the same thing, but with a different group. Audiences can start to feel like they're being lectured, and the whole thing just falls flat.
So let's connect the dots. How did this whole strategy, as they see it, lead to where we are right now? Well, they argue that the outcome is now forcing Marvel's hand, which takes us all the way back to Grace Randall's original complaint. The result, after years of movies and Disney Plus shows introducing all these new heroes, is that, well, their analysis is that none of them really took off. None of them became popular enough to carry a massive billion-dollar Avengers movie all by themselves. So in their view, you've got this giant gap in how much audiences connect with the original team versus the new heroes. And that created this huge power vacuum at the very top of the MCU, a vacuum that somebody had to fill. And that's really the bottom line of their whole argument. Bringing back stars like Robert Downey Jr. and Chris Evans isn't some creative choice to push the new characters aside. In their view, it's a business decision, a necessity, because the new characters just haven't proven they can carry that weight. As one of the hosts put it, it's simple. They're going back to them because they work. They're proven. And they believe that, for Marvel, that's really the only path forward right now if they want to stabilize their biggest franchise.
Okay, so if the swapperoo was the problem, what was the solution? Well, the hosts didn't just complain, they actually laid out a whole different way they think Marvel could have and should have done this to create the next generation of beloved heroines.
And their solution is basically just good old-fashioned storytelling. Don't just hand a character a title. Don't just say, here's the new hero. Instead, take the audience on a journey with them. Make them earn their spot as a hero. And they give a really powerful example, Okoye from Black Panther. Just picture it, a story focused on Okoye, who's already a huge fan favorite, dealing with the loss of her king.
Her journey to find a new purpose for herself and for Wakanda could have been a perfect way to organically bring in a total powerhouse character like Storm. Not as a replacement for anybody, but as this exciting, necessary new force in the MCU.
And you can see the huge difference in the approach, right? The mantle strategy just tells the audience, here is your new Thor. But the earned arc strategy, that shows the audience exactly why this character deserves to be a hero. It creates a so much stronger emotional connection. At the end of the day, their entire analysis really just boils down to this one simple idea. It's a universal principle of storytelling. They argue that whether an audience connects with a character has nothing to do with quotas or ticking a box. It has everything to do with creating a compelling, well-developed person that you can actually root for.
And all of this leaves us with a really provocative question. One that's not just for Marvel, but for every big franchise out there. In this era of reboots and legacy sequels, is it even possible anymore to build brand new icons from scratch? Or are these studios just destined to keep going back to the heroes of the past? It's the biggest challenge Hollywood is facing right now.